want to confirm that YouTube is streaming, and then we'll be all set. Thank you so much. I'm going to mute my video, and you are all set. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll start again. Good evening and welcome to the January 12th, 2022 Orange Board of Selectmen meeting by way of Zoom. For those at home, if they're watching it, you can watch it by way of YouTube or OGAT live stream, either one. There was no public participation items emailed in to Ann or myself prior to this meeting, at least none that we saw. So with that said, I will say for our call to order, go ahead. Mitch is at the top of my screen, so why don't we start with Mitch, I presume. So everybody say hello.
Good evening, Mitch Goldblatt.
Good evening,
John Carangelo.
Good evening, Judy Williams.
Good evening, Ralph Oakenquist.
Good evening, Connor Dean.
Made it through it. Very good, everybody. Okay. Public participation. I don't think there's anybody on for public participation. If any of you, I have announcements. Is there anything for public participation from any of the members or those that are on the sidelines of this meeting?
Yeah, Jim, if I may.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to let people know that we are still continuing to collect plastic bags and wrap at the transfer station, although we can no longer send them over to Oak Ridge, who will no longer accept them and separate them. So we are working diligently with Harry Garofalo at ShopRite in Orange to be able to have those bags and wraps sent to ShopRite for recycling. So right now the shed is full. Bear with us. Hopefully in a week or two, we'll be able to clear out what we have and continue to collect. We appreciate everyone's patience and also how popular the bags and wrap have been as far as a recycling item. So thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else for public participation items? Okay. Announcements. We have, as usual, we start with our deaths, and as those of you who follow me, we've been awful busy with those, unfortunately. Dr. Baltimore, who was on our Board of Health, was the Assistant Director of Health. Nettie Bartisetti, who was involved in many, many areas, and most recently her garden club expertise, and she's the one who had started the house tours for them and involved with the fair and so many things. And Bud Smith, the Orange Hills Golf Course, passed away on Sunday, I think it was. Ruth Ann Serino, one of our teachers, had retired. She was in the elementary school system for years, was living in Florida, passed away. Michael Reardon was also another one of our elementary school teachers who passed away. George Zatsopoulos, who passed away night before last, owner of Chips, he and with his sister Dina, battled a brain tumor for over a year. Two centenarians, Eleanor Newman and Betty Goodwin. One was 100, one was 103, was their time. And as you read the papers daily, there are just so many more that each and all of us know. So feel free to chime in on any more of those. I know Howard Dragonoff, who does our novelties at the 4th of July event, his father passed away. And several others that I've seen in the paper. So if any of you have names at this point of others in town that have passed, who have served and been part of our community, please feel free to put them in at this time. But I mean, it's just, it's sad and it's heart-wrenching. And our thoughts, I know of each and every one of us, go out to all of these families and others that we know beyond these families that have lost loved ones all in the last few weeks. It's just unbelievable how it's going on. So our thoughts are with all of these families and even those more beyond those that I don't necessarily know, but are part of our community. Monday, January 17th, town offices will be closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. However, the transfer station will be open. Mary Shaw has now started as the town clerk as of January 3rd. That term does not start with the November elections as with the rest of us. That one starts with the first day of business after the new year. So Mary Shaw is now here, and Patrick O'Sullivan is still here on a part-time basis with that, and he has taken up a desk in the first selectman's outer office for his administration work with the bicentennial. So he is here at the town hall, usually Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, if you need to reach him. Many people don't know this, and it keeps coming to light, and I don't know why, but it came to light a lot with the handing out of the test kits last week. People don't realize, well, how do we know? How are we notified? And if you go onto the Town of Orange website, there's a spot on there where you can sign up for the alerts. And if you sign up for these alerts, messages like most recently for the test kits that were handed out last week, you receive alerts on many different issues when they go out. And it's very easy to do. Just go to the Town of Orange website and sign up for that, and it will go right to your phone. And we keep trying to tell people to do that, but some people wait till after they don't know about something. Then when they ask, it's like we keep saying, go to the town website and sign up for the alerts. And I say it again here tonight. And that worked out very well. The fire department, public works, emergency management, the fire marshal's office, they all worked in sync that day down there handing out. We did get COVID-19 test kits, and then we got a few more the day before the handout. And then we got 25 cases of masks. So they were handing out masks and test kits down there. I think ultimately they handed out 12 or 1,300 test kits, which worked out very well. And believe it or not, the last a little over 300, they actually had to wait for people to come. It dragged on. Initially, the traffic was stopped from Old Tavern Road up to High Plains and from down Orange Center Road past Old Grassy Hill to High Plains. And then that cleared out. They did a great job. They expedited it. It worked great. And there were still over 300 test kits left. And they did all ultimately get given out. But it was funny. It was just like people just stopped. So it was, but it was a good project. And all of those that volunteered to be there and make that possible did a really good job. We've been asked if there's going to be another one of these. We don't have that answer. At this time, I can only say no. The test kits and masks are provided by the state of Connecticut, Department of Public Health. And if they do notify us as to another distribution, we will participate, but that is strictly up to the state to let us know if they're going to do that. And again, we will put it out on the alert system for anybody who wants to be aware of that. But no, they did a great job with that. Okay, let's see. Very important, a message from the assessor. There have been no executive orders issued regarding the 2021 Grand List Elderly Homeowner Application or the 2022 Grand List Additional Veteran Applications due to be filed for this year. Homeowners must reapply between February 1st and May 15th, and veterans must reapply between February 1st and October 1st. And any questions on this, please call the assessor's office at 203-891-4722. And that's going to, I think it might already be on the website, and we're going to put it out as another message publicly, but and through the community services, but that's very important. A message from the tax collector. Taxes that are due January 1st, 2022 have until February 1st, 2022 to pay. If they are mailed and not postmarked by February 1st, late fees will apply. Taxes can be paid in person from 8:30 to 3:30 to get a receipt. The drop box is available until 4:30 to leave it check payments only. Please no cash in the drop box. You can pay anytime online, but third-party fees do apply for that. For residents of our town with public water supply, if you haven't seen it out there announced, the Regional Water Authority, that starting in January of 2022, you're going to be getting a monthly water bill now instead of a quarterly water bill. And for some people, that'll help budget a lot. And also being a person who had a very bad leak underground that never knew it, because our meter is in a vault out in the ground out near Lambert Road, it will identify a leak sooner than later by getting a monthly read as opposed to a quarterly read. So there's a lot of good to come out of that. But those are my announcements for our January meeting. Anybody with anything else that I might have missed? If not, the minutes of the December 8th, 2021 public hearing for fee increases and for the building and fire marshal's office. Are there any motions, errors, or corrections on that? If there are, please state page and paragraph.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
motion made. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Very good. Under new business, to consider and act on the request from the pension board to approve a proposal for a defined contribution RFP for fiducian advisors. Eric Henlon, chairman of the pension board, is somewhere in the wings. I know.
Yeah.
He's here. Chris, if you're listening, can you put Eric's camera on? And while he's doing that, this is a proposal that went through the pension board and was passed, and Eric is the chairman of the pension board and will make a presentation. There he is.
All right.
Okay, Eric, you're up.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for the introduction, Mitch. As he said, I'm Eric Henlon. I'm chairman of the pension board. So the pension board monitors, the town offers two sets of pension plans to town employees. One is defined benefit plans for police and town employees. Those plans are closed to new employees and have been closed for, I think, close to almost 25 years now. And at the time that took place, the town offered a defined contribution plan to all of the town employees. And that's the proposal that we have tonight. Since the implementation of those plans, the town has used one provider, Mutual of America, and we're now approaching almost $30 million in assets from the participants. But in that approximate 25-year time period, the providers to defined contributions plans, as you can imagine, have changed with technology, have changed in pricing and fees. And the pension board, after discussion really at a couple of meetings with our investment advisors that we have for the defined benefit plans, which is fiducian advisors, recommended that we look to other providers other than Mutual of America to see what's out there to try to improve the offerings and costs to the town employees for their defined contribution plan. Fiducian represents and works with many towns throughout the state. They're very familiar with the various providers to the defined contribution market. And they've provided us with a proposal that for a cost of $12,000, they would run and really handle the RFP for providers to the defined contribution plan. And while they can't guarantee anything, their belief to us is that there should be some, potential savings in costs of what participants are currently paying, as well as providing more flexibility in investment options to those participants. So we're here to, on the recommendation of the pension board, we're asking for the approval of the Board of Selectmen to move forward with this RFP process, working with fiducian advisors.
Good.
Okay, so the request before the Board of Selectmen for tonight is to approve recommend to the Board of Finance the $12,000 request from the pension board to move forward with fiducian advisors directing this RFP project, correct? That's what we're looking for. Okay.
That's correct. And
this was all well received, and I'm sure vetted out by you, Eric, and your committee. So I have no doubts there.
yeah, yes, it was.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions for Chairman Henlon on this item? Otherwise, is there a motion to make a recommendation to the Board of Finance to fund this $12,000 request?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. I will leave it up to the finance director and the Board of Finance to identify where this $12,000 is coming from. I haven't been told which fund to take it out of, but probably out of, well, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But so with that recommendation and the unanimous decision, approved. You're all set, Eric. Well, I know John is watching this, so you may hear from him tomorrow. Yes, Judy.
Thank
Okay,
you.
just one quick question. Will fiducian, are they also able to come in and be part of this review, basically? I mean, can they provide
They are
services
doing
to
the
the
review.
town?
No, fiducian is they're just advisors that provide
Okay.
assistances to investment options. They do not actually run
Do not
or perform those services.
Okay, good.
You lay it out.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 2 was a request that Mitch had sent in to consider and act on the request of the Orange Recycling Committee to hold an on-site hazardous waste collection day on Saturday, April 2nd, 2022 from 9 a.m. to noon at High Plains Community Center. And this is in conjunction with mattress recycling and shredding, I believe, Mitch. It's all
That's
going to be one
correct.
day.
That's
Okay.
correct. All in one day, all in 3 hours.
Chris, you have to let Lori Vitagliano on and those other participants that were on, Novick and Moyer, and was there somebody else? Mitch?
Susan Weiland.
Sue Weiland?
Yep.
Are they still available, Chris?
Yep, I think so.
There's Wendy, there's Lori. Lori, how was my plug for the billing for the water company? Was that about it?
That was super. Thank you for selecting one. I didn't expect that, so that was great. And again,
Very good.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Mitch has put in a request to come before this board to do an on-site haz waste collection in conjunction with his recycling and mattress recycling. And I think there's another group going to have something else there with clothing or something.
There might be. We definitely are teed up for April 2nd at High Plains Community Center. Thank you, Jim. For our now semi-annual shredding day. That's all ready to go. People are pretty familiar with that. So April 2nd, a Saturday morning, 9 to noon. At the same time, we're working with Bye Bye Mattress once again for the mattress collection, also in the front of High Plains. And what we like to do, and what Lori and I have spoken about, the recycling committee has spoken about and endorsed is to try and also do an on-site haz waste collection at High Plains. And Jim, I'm glad to hear about how well the test kits went, because we kind of imagine the same sort of, and I'm sure we'll learn from what was done there, the same sort of queuing up around the building from the south entrance all the way around to where Clean Harbors would be set up to be able to accept hazardous waste from residents. As some of you or many of you know, this is set up every year from April to October at the South Central Regional Water Authority through Haz Waste Central, which Lori is on. She'll speak in a few minutes about the program. And we volunteer twice a year, Orange residents, and for the last many years, it's been members of the recycling committee who volunteer to help with the mostly with traffic control at the Water Authority on those Saturday mornings. And yet we don't get a lot of Orange residents to really participate with this. And we feel that there's probably a pent-up demand, if you will, of hazardous waste that is either sitting in basements or attics or sheds and is just sitting there, or is ending up in the wrong places, which is even worse. Going into our municipal solid waste, going into our streams, wetlands, and other places where it shouldn't go. And we'd like to have an opportunity to have one in town. Lori and I have spoken. There are several other towns around us. Milford and Woodbridge right around us have done this several times. Guilford has done it for the first time recently. Madison has also done it in Cheshire that I know of pretty successfully and gotten great participation. Now, that's all good news. The bad news with this is there's a cost. And the cost, Lori and I have estimated to be somewhere around possibly $20,000. I'll let Lori speak about that part of it and why there's a cost and why it's still, in our opinion, recycling committee's opinion, to continue to do this and to try and still have this in Orange. And we can try it once, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't, and we can't afford going forward, we can't. At least it's maybe as a kickoff to the bicentennial. We're doing it for the first time in 200 years. So, Lori, can you add to why there's a cost and why you think this is also help us with how it's worked out in other towns?
So thank you, Mitch and the board for having me this evening. So a couple of questions I'd like to address first. Mitch, you mentioned the importance of this, as you mentioned, just in addition to helping residents do the right thing, making it easier and convenient. It's also that safety factor. You have incompatibles in a garage that can get tipped over by animals or children. So, I mean, I don't believe I need to explain further why this is so important to do so, but those are points about the program and proper disposal that folks don't think about too often. So residents do use the facility in New Haven from Orange. It's a regional operation where they're actually from May through October for residents to properly dispose of their waste. And they're coming down as they need it if they're moving, changing home, or just doing a big cleanup. But the communities that Mitch mentioned, Cheshire in the past, Meriden currently, Madison, Milford, Woodbridge, and I think I mentioned one more, left it out. At any rate, and Fairfield, actually, there are members. They have found and are of the opinion having us come to town, and I say us, that's the whole Haz Waste operation, come to the community and set up a satellite collection. So the cost for that is as a result of more residents properly disposing of their waste. The fixed costs for the facility that are part of the permanent facility. The additional costs that are charged back to the town would be based on the actual usership. So we did some projections, and I was looking and talking with Mitch a couple of times, looking at, for example, Guilford. They were the most recent community that increased their usership by way of doing this collection. Last April was the first time they did it, and their participation went up by almost 400. And then their cost as well went up. And that's what we're paying Clean Harbors to do. They're the contractor that the Regional Water Authority goes out to bid, and they were the successful bidders. They show up on a Saturday. They specialize in these chemicals and proper disposal, consolidating it, making sure they get to the right location. In addition, they take title and generator status of that waste and handle it right down to the cradle. So as a member of this program, and this extends to the satellite, they handle all of the operation and proper disposal. So simultaneously, while we're operating in New Haven for the region, we're also we can potentially come to the town. So they're serving that purpose. And again, based on the participation from Orange residents and the type of waste coming through that's being shipped out at the end of the day is where the cost comes in. So those projections could run, doing some comparisons, could be for the fiscal year that we're currently in, can possibly be $20,000, even $25,000. And again, it's based on that waste that we collect that day, based on the manifest that comes back to us as the proper disposal for those items. So
We will be billed on this. I understand that part. Last year, our final billing, our year-to-date on it was $13,920 for what Orange people brought to the New Haven site, I presume. Now, will this be a residents only, Mitch, or is it are you doing it like in a regional conjunction, or?
Well, here's the thing, Jim. We can't, and Lori can chime in if I'm wrong. I don't think we can actually stop people, especially if they're in line, stop people from coming through. However, if somebody comes through from Milford, it's Milford that's going to be charged, not Orange. We will only be charged for the Orange residents. Now, we only plan on advertising it, if you will, in the Orange media, trying to get Orange residents, similar to what we do for the shredding day and the mattress collection. You know, we don't turn people away if they come in from out of town with mattresses or even some shredding. But we only encourage it from Orange residents. We do the same thing here. But once again, and I think Lori's shaking her head, yes, if somebody comes in from another town, and they have to be a member. They have to be a member. Their town has to be a member of the Has Waste Central to begin with. Otherwise, they will be turned away. And then if they come in from another town, their particular town will be the ones charged. Is that correct, Lori?
Exactly. It's the same mechanism we're using at the permanent facility. When a resident shows up at the first greeter, should you say, that resident is required to fill out. Actually, we went electronic. Prior to COVID, we were trying to encourage residents to use our electronic sign-in sheet, and they weren't converting as easily. And we were the only one in the state that was actually opened a week late. Some other facilities had to delay their opening for weeks. With that said, residents are signing in with their address. So that same mechanism is used at all the satellites. So if somebody from Milford decides to show up at the satellite, it goes to Milford's numbers.
It would be identified because of this electronic sign up. Okay.
Yeah, residents can't get through unless they've signed in.
Okay.
Whether it's
that was one of my questions. Now we're not talking like painting things, Mitch. Are we talking just chemicals, or what type of things do you see?
Well, paint is included. It comes through our program, and paint care does take it away. So we do take that at the permanent facility, and because of the paint care program, those cubic yard boxes are not charged at the paint rate at all. Pesticides, I would believe, living in Orange years ago, I believe that we probably see quite a bit of pesticides that might have been stored in some sheds and so forth, pool chemicals, gasolines for whether it's, end of season, snow blower, so on and so forth. All of those liquids and chemicals that shouldn't go in the regular trash at all. So
we see a lot of stuff, having participated with this at the Regional Water Authority. Lori's correct. And we also see things that just people leave under the sink or under the some cabinet somewhere, and years go by and it's either no good anymore or not used for whatever reason, and people just don't know what to do with it. And here's the thing to do with it. I also found out recently, just in discussion with Lori, that those 1 pound canisters, the propane gas canisters used for camping and for the small grills, those are accepted, not the 20-pound ones.
Good.
The 20-pound ones, the regular size big ones that you have under your gas grill would go to the transfer station. And we do take latex paint at the transfer station currently as well. So I hope people aren't waiting for those kind of things, but certainly the things that Lori mentioned would certainly be acceptable.
Do you have
Thank you,
any,
Mitch.
could you, I don't know if you have it available at this point, or maybe you know off the top of your head. You name some of these other towns that are similar, Guilford being one of them, similar counts to us, kind of what kind of expenses they incurred for running these satellite events.
So what Lori and I did is we went through, and she's got probably more numbers than I do. We went through Guilford.
Looking at them right now, I think.
Yeah, we went through Guilford because Guilford did this for the first time last year, and it was the first time they did it, just like us. And that's why I wanted to see, as opposed to like Woodbridge has done it year after year after year, where I think it tapers off. I wanted to see what the initial impact would be. And for Guilford, I think Lori came up with about $22,000 was our best estimate from there. I would expect Orange to be similar, only in this respect that it's a 3-hour period. So there's only so much you can take in 3 hours, no matter how many people line up. And the only difference is, I think, actually, Jim, to your previous question, we may actually get less than Guilford, not just because our population is less, but also because Guilford being a very large landmass area, there's less people coming in from out of town. Whereas in Orange, I would suspect we might get some spillover from the West Havens, Milfords, Woodbridges to come through anyway. So that would lessen our cost. But once again, we really want to market this to Orange residents to try and get people who have either never been to Has Waste at the Regional Water Authority on Sergeant Drive, or, it's just time. It's kind of like the shredding. When people know it's coming, they say, I got a date, I've got a plan, I'm going to make it happen by April 2nd, and they'll get there. And so we're going to combine it all together. So we'll have, hopefully things go in the right area. The shredding goes one way, the mattress is another, and then the Has Waste would go wrap around the building. The backside is what our plan would be.
Well, we'll come out and do a site visit if that's the case. And just for the mere fact of for folks on the line, that's something that Clean Harbors is required to do for the operating day. View the site and give us a diagram of where they would need to set up if they have to take other things into consideration. So while I know the location, their requirements for setup would be dictated by that, but I'm sure it can work. One other thing I'd like to add, 2 things actually. So Mitch, when we talked about Guilford, one other reason why I think that you might see less participation in Orange comparatively to Guilford, Guilford and Madison share a transfer station. So I'm not so sure, how, and I haven't been to the Guilford transfer station, but comparatively, I know that you're already doing a lot. So folks are bringing their paint, hopefully doing the right thing, and they're used to going there. That's kind of one reason why I think that you may not have the 400 or 500s. But then again, being the first collection like this for the community, it's a balance for the success of it, and certainly want it to be a success. And again, the types of waste that come through will dictate the final costs as well.
That's my only. I think it's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. My only caution to the selectmen is we don't know what the cost will be. I don't think it will be maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe it would be 20,000, but it would take an awful lot of disposal of chemicals to hit that kind of a number. But we don't have a number, so I just caution to remind you, it could be $15,000 to $20,000, which the town could cover. It's a good experiment, and it's a good lesson, and it's good for the environment. All pluses. But you're voting on a open-ended agreement is all I will remind you. Whatever it is at the end of the day, after they're done collecting, we're responsible for. And as long as we agree on that, that's fine. I do agree with it.
Thank you, Jim. Two other points.
Like as I said to you, we've never done one of these before, and we were billed for last year. Now, granted, you had a lot of things going on between COVID and some other stuff, but we spent just under $14,000 by utilizing the services at the Water Authority's offices in New Haven. So this potentially could equal that in 1 3-hour period, or as Lori said, maybe we wouldn't have that much exposure. So, but it's unknown.
And to your point, that's historically, that's in line with one of your historically highest amounts for your fiscal years, looking at these numbers that I have in front of me. So that's pretty much been your range, $12,000 to $13,000 a fiscal year for participation at the regional facility. One other thing I'd like to add too, with our current contract with Clean Harbors, there is no additional setup fee to come to do a satellite. Past programs, other programs in the state, they may charge upward of $2,500 just to show up. This company does not, at this point, this contract does not reflect that. So,
okay. It's just like having a delivery charge. There's no delivery, no shipping fee.
Amazon.
So, okay.
Jim, just
questions?
Just one other thing to add there about the costs. Lori and I were speaking, and she didn't mention this, so I'll throw it in there. She believes that next year costs will go up. So if people don't bring it here, and they end up just bringing it next year, the year after, down to New Haven, our costs will be more for that same disposal because the costs are expected to rise for disposal. And the last thing I'll say is, Jim, you and I go back a long ways on the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if you recall the Murtha lawsuit, where we were, with hazardous waste that got shipped up, and we ended up with a very large
Laurel Park.
bill. Yes, Laurel Park, exactly.
I think we paid about $400,000, as I recall.
I think it was $1 million, but it was a huge amount that cost us for having hazardous waste in our municipal solid waste. And we certainly, I think we've put in a lot of protections to not have that happen again. But nonetheless, it's so important to keep this out of the wrong places and have it disposed of properly. And I would ask the Board of Selectmen to support it. And with that, I'll just make a motion to approve our request. And I guess, Jim, is the proper thing to send it to the Board of Finance, or just to approve it and go?
We will approve the action, and then whatever it is. I mean, we have the right to, it doesn't go to the Board of Finance because there's no number on it.
Okay.
And you can't even put a not to exceed. What are you going to put for a not to exceed number? Not to exceed 25,000? I mean, it's never going to hit that number, but you don't know. But I'd like to ask, before we vote, Eileen and Wendy are both on this Zoom, if either one of you have thoughts or comments being part of this committee before we take action on it.
Wendy, you want to go first?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Eileen.
Go ahead, Eileen.
Go ahead, Eileen. I think it's great, and the way that the paper, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to see. Paper shredding and mattress recycling has gone so far in the last several years. The way it's been, it started out as paper shredding and then added the mattress recycling, and it's all been coordinated. It's just gone so smoothly, and now it's a well-oiled machine. And I think that adding the other thing would be really helpful for residents. I've been there at the collection, and people are always very thankful of this service being local. And they really take the time to be very complimentary or express how helpful it is to them. So it seems like one more thing, make it more convenient for them, and they can just add a few little bottles in their trunk and bring it with their paper. And the mattress is a little bit different in how they get it there, but
However it comes, as long as it comes.
yeah, right. And then they can go
Safer.
right over to the transfer station and finish the rest of their.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wendy, do you have anything to say before we take action?
I do just have a couple of questions about the logistics and the awareness for the town. How will everybody know what they're allowed to bring, what is acceptable, what kind of advertising and what kind of, preemptive, how are we going to educate and reach everyone to let them know what they should bring that day?
So
So from
I can answer that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead, Lori.
No, go right ahead. Well, from the regional perspective, we do have advertisement pieces that we've used for the other satellites. We put that out on social media. It links folks to our website, which lists what we take and don't take. And there are a few items we cannot take and ship from that facility. And as a matter of fact, Mitch, you had mentioned the 1 pound cylinders. Those, depending on Clean Harbor's shipping permit, they may or may not be able to take it that day. They may only be able to come to the permanent facility because of the way they have to ship that on a separate truck. So we can address that offline. But we have a complete list of what we take and don't take at the collections. A couple other things that we take in New Haven, which some satellites may not take, are auto batteries. And that's because Clean Harbors doesn't take that. We have a local scrap person who handles those. Waste oil and antifreeze, we can certainly take that if you choose to drum it. We have 275 gallon tanks in New Haven for Pora for those items. So those are the couple of items that we would need to address offline. But when the person signs on and looks, if they see the information electronically, it automatically, if they click, it'll automatically bring them to the electronic sign-up sheet as well. So
you have to sign up to participate in the collection that day?
You have to register, whether you pre-register
Okay.
from home at your computer, or if you register the day of, we're no longer using paper forms or interacting with paper. So that's one way they can do it. We've been seeing folks sign up during the week as they're going through their garage with their cell phone in hand. The other thing regarding advertisement, we've been doing this for a long time. The facility's been there for 32 years, and personally, I've almost been there nearly that long as well. So whatever you think works for your community, we have the print ad. I've worked with the Orange Bulletin on, or the Woodbridge. The bulletin, we can work with that as well. Whatever you think works best for your community. We have all of the information to help and do that, and that's what we do.
All right.
So we have a committee website that we would put the information on, and then also committee Facebook page. And we put an article in one of the town newspapers, under recycling tips, but certainly we could talk about that event.
And I would strongly encourage including the website as much as possible. And then we can monitor that week. I have the ability, and I do actually, I'll look at the sheet. It's called a smart sheet to see when residents are signing up and what they're planning to bring. If they're planning to bring something we don't take, I email the folks and just say, gee, thank you very much for not taking this at the collection. Please, this is what you should do with it. So we can monitor that as we get closer to the collection as well for that kind of information.
That's great.
But strongly support utilizing social media because a couple more clicks will get to where they need to be. But of course, the print ad, it's the same ad. We could just, I send that to the newspaper.
Just one last thing I just thought of as you were speaking. So that person that is greeting the people at the entry, they're going to ask Mr. Jones, well, what did you bring? Because it's possible that Mr. Jones has brought things that can't go into the venue that we're providing that day. And so they will tell him, or do they take everything?
Well, when you say things we don't take, Mr. Zulli, it has to.
I don't know what it could be, but
yeah, well, that's the question. I mean, the propane cylinders, if that's something, and we have to make sure that we advertise that those can only go to the permanent facility. But other items, if it's hazardous waste, we're taking it.
Okay.
The other common item that we do see that we have to turn away, that's a big problem for the industry, are fire extinguishers. We're not set up to take those. Is the fire department, is that something that they can look into and have another stop? I've seen that in some collections. So just putting that out there
Okay.
as a
interesting.
thought. But, and you know, I thought you were going to ask about if folks show up and they didn't pre-register, or they didn't sign in, and they don't have a phone and they can't navigate it. We have a couple of folks on our team with an iPad who will sign them up when they come through the line to help them.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions on this or thoughts, comments? Connor?
Just a quick question, because I don't want to keep going too long with this. Is there any benefit in cost sharing perspective to team up with some of these local other municipalities? Sorry, my computer is freezing. You know, if you talked about the two fees, what we would owe based on how much people bring versus that base fee. Is there anything there in shared costs if we teamed up with Woodbridge or teamed up with Milford?
The shared fee is actually, I should step back a little bit, and that shared fee I was referring to is for the permanent facility, and it is a regional facility, and it is 17 towns are members, and all 17 towns pay for that shared fee for the facility, the operation, and this is an extension of that, so there's no additional fees.
Okay, so the only fee for the day is what people bring.
What people bring.
Yeah.
Right, the waste.
And since they are going to be identified by where they are from, their material, if they are from other than Orange, will be billed to that other community.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. All right. Very good. Any other questions for Lori Vitagliano on this? Anybody? Seeing none? Is there a motion to approve this, to give this I'll call it a test run this year, Mitch?
All right, I'll make a motion for a test run.
At Recycling Day on April 22nd at High Plains Community Center.
April 2nd.
To operate a Has Waste Central Satellite Drop-Off.
Yes, April 2nd, Jim.
Tell me again, I missed you.
You said April 22nd, April 2nd.
April 2nd of 20, yes, you're right, of 22.
Thank
got
you.
me. All right.
That's a motion.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, Connor. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Raise your hand so I can see you. There you go. Unanimous. Very good. Okay, Lori, that's a go.
Thank you. Thank you, and have a good evening. I'm looking
Thanks,
forward.
All right,
Bye now.
there you go. Now, I don't know which one of you two has to do the publicity, Eileen or Wendy, but get ready.
Yeah.
Reach out.
We'll be
Bye
talking
now.
about it at the next recycling committee meeting. Maybe we'll
Excellent.
get you on. We have some,
Excellent.
I'm sure we can have some extra ideas besides the ones already mentioned.
Glass is my pet peeve.
Mine too,
Glass is a
Jim.
lot of
Ours
tonnage.
too.
Ours too.
That's one that
Are we,
drives.
are we talking glass now? Should I stay on? I'm actually was the newly elected Connecticut Recyclers Coalition president. So that's again, while hazardous waste is a one focus of it, big picture waste diversion and materials management is keyed into that. So
Good, Lori. We'll talk about glass.
looking
another
forward to
time. There's a
that.
lot to talk about.
There
There's
is.
so much tonnage in glass, Lori. That's one thing that I've wanted to get, if they could separate it out even. I mean, currently it all goes in one hopper at our transfer station, but I think, there's got to be ways of that. Somebody has to need glass in America that can recycle glass. I don't
You're
understand.
right. You're right.
So-
But
And Jim, we've got discussions started between Bob Britton and Oak Ridge to try and do that. We just need to find the space to have a separate glass container at the transfer station, which Bob and the people from Oak Ridge are supposed to get together soon. It's just been like pulling teeth with Oak Ridge, quite frankly. We're hoping to get them to to come out here and meet with Bob to go through that. But that is one of the things we've been discussing quite a bit.
Well, let's hope.
We'll
Yeah,
talk
okay.
more.
One question of Lori, can I ask a
Sure.
question since we got a little
Sure.
slightly off topic? Is there any waste disposal procedures or recycling procedures for all of the excess stuff that's now created because of COVID? The masks, the gloves, the vials, and all of it. Like it's an environmental disaster just from the waste standpoint, right?
That's a good question, and I don't have that answer about how they're handling, how to properly handle that. I think if there was suggestions, go ahead, sorry.
I'm sure it's all disposed in the garbage. I was hoping.
Well, the good thing is with that, Eileen, our garbage, if you drop it in up at the hopper, it goes to the burn plant. So it's incinerated, which is probably the best way to dispose of potentially virus-containing items is to incinerate it. But at this point, there's been nothing beyond that proposed that I've heard of, not from the state or anything.
Which I understand it's the least of the concerns with the whole issue, but I appreciate that answer. Thank you. That's good to know.
Okay, that is approved. We're gonna move on to committees. Thank you. Pension Board, Mitch, I don't know if you have anything more after we just did that other part for you.
You got tax refunds first, Jim?
Thank you. Number 3.
Tax refunds first?
Oh, criminy, yeah. They're under here. They're under this under the appointments. Yes. To consider an act and request on tax refunds totaling $9,538.51. Looks like Toyota Lease is the big winner this month.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Very good. Okay. Pension, Mitch.
Yeah, Eric already gave us the report, so I have nothing further.
Capital planning, Ralph, can you hear us? Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, yes, we've completed our interviews, and subsequently we prioritized a list of about 26 projects totaling about 1.2 million. That'll be submitted to the Board of Finance probably within the next week or so. And got another, like I say, 26 projects covering public works, the library, park and rec, and police department, and the IT department. So we spent quite a bit of time going through the projects, and I have to give thanks to my committee for doing a great job. Everybody made all the meetings, and we became very knowledgeable about the projects, and there was a very good consensus about the final prioritization. So that, like I say, will be submitted to the Board of Finance shortly.
Okay. With that said, we had a $6 million sale came in this week. Was good down at Home Depot because that property split. So the town benefited by like a $15,000 sales benefit on that one. That was kind of nice to have this week. Good way to start the year. It offsets other things. With that said, anybody else have any business they want to announce to the world? Since we're on screen tonight. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.